Hello and welcome to another moment of Gotham Sound TV. I am joined today by Glenn Sanders from Zaxcom. Glenn, thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Great to be here.
And thanks again for making the trip. And today you've brought a new upcoming product. Tell us what you got.
Well, I've got the DCiRX, which is a product that we hinted at last NAB. We spent a lot of time listening to the feedback from that show and also, going into the engineering and the technology to make sure that we have something that is basically brand new and unlike any other product that's available. What we have here is something that is the size of an IFB receiver, but it is much, much more than that. I mean, just to give you a little bit of a highlight on the features, it's a wireless receiver. It has a microphone preamp in it that is both for lavaliers or 48-volt phantom microphones. And it has an auto mixer in it. It has multiple outputs to take the microphone that's plugged in, as well as the two channels coming from the receiver, and auto mixing that so it can be output to a camera. In terms of outputs, it has the traditional balanced output like you would have for any broadcast camera. There's two channels of that. It has a USB output where it outputs 4 channels of audio to an iPhone, I should say. And it can also output to anything that accepts USB audio. There's a headphone output, which could also be used to feed like a DSLR kind of thing with a 3.5 millimeter connection, unbalanced. It's something that we initially looked at as being a replacement for our RX200, which was an ENG receiver. And basically people said, well, we want something smaller, we want something lighter. And, we've been working on this direct conversion receiver technology. And this is our very, very first UHF direct conversion product. And we'll get into that a little later.
And that is where the name comes from, right? DC.
Yeah, DC, direct conversion interface receiver. We could have made the name a little longer because it's really a narrow band direct conversion receiver. And we'll talk about that as well because the technology in here is different than any other receiver available from any manufacturer. It's something that we really refined over the last year or two, and it solves a tremendous amount of problems that can occur with wireless microphone transmission. So the idea is that this is a interface, hence the I in DCiRX, so that we can interface to any camera, and we can also pull together a lot of different types of working, if that makes any sense. If people want to work with an iPhone, they can work with an iPhone. If they are a single person and they're doing documentary stuff, they can work that way. If they are, basically, wanting to use a Nova or any sound bag, they can work that way. For right now, I mean, the unit itself is tremendously capable, and it also now has a 4-track recorder built into it, so that anything you do, you can output it to a camera, but you can also keep a local recording. It has its own time code reader generator. There's a 3.5 millimeter jack for that.
Can I say one thing that kind of jumped out at me that I don't know why I haven't thought about? But this is kind of like a handheld mini Nova that has an interface. Like really, because it, you think about what your other products do, right? And the Nova can have 8 built-in channels of wireless receive. This has a built-in channel of wireless receive, right?
Yeah.
The Nova records all those channels. This records all those channels. The Nova has auto mix. This has auto mix. And then this does, it's obviously much smaller in handheld, but it's almost like, having a lot of the key features of a super high-end professional recorder in your hand.
Well, that's right. And while I don't want to get into the use cases so much right now, it's important to think of this in terms of maybe being a Swiss Army knife kind of thing, where it's so good for so many applications. And, we feel that it really fills a void in the industry because you've got high-end gear and you've got low-end gear.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just nothing in the middle. So you're able to take this and, use it one day with an iPhone handheld, or use it in a sound bag to receive, body packs. There's a lot of applications for this that I think people haven't even begun to think of.
Mm.
But having the auto mix in here and being able to output that directly to camera means that you're ready to go. I mean, if you shoot something, you're ready to send that off to be broadcast. And it's going to sound great. The mic preamp is excellent in here. It's got never clip on the preamp.
Mm-hmm.
There's a high pass filter. There's a compressor. Of course, all of our wireless transmitters have that as well. And you're able to, utilize this with any of our transmitters. I mean, whether it be body packs, handhelds, camera links, anything you want to use, you can use with this.
Yes, is the preamp, I know that the preamp's on the side, it's a 3-pin LEMO. Is it the same preamp that you use on the ZMT4?
It is actually the same preamp on the ZMT4.
That's great. So it's a professional quality, like people use it for wireless boom.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's able to run on 3 AA batteries.
Mm-hmm.
And if you plug it into an iPhone, it actually powers off the iPhone. And then the batteries internally become a backup.
Got it.
But it will power off the iPhone when you do that. And of course, as I might have mentioned earlier, any USB interface that can handle audio, it will work with.
Got it. So not just iPhone, but Android or a laptop or...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and battery life would be about 4 to 5 hours. Certainly closer to the 4-hour mark if you're going to power a 48-volt microphone, because those draw quite a bit of power. Again, when it comes to interfacing this into the world, if you want to put this, with an iPhone, someone could use the iPhone, to shoot something. They can have a 48-volt, nice professional microphone married with that, and then they could be receiving wireless from talent, whoever, someone might be interviewing or what have you.
Yeah. So the DC and DCiRX, right? So it's a new nomenclature. It's not MR, it's not UR, it's DC. So tell me about what that's all about and why that's important and special.
Well, direct conversion is a technology that's been around for a while. But the problem with direct conversion is it tends to be expensive and power hungry. And because of that, it is not suited to small portable equipment. The other thing that people do with direct conversion is something that is really bad for location sound. I mean, when you have a direct conversion receiver, you tend to digitize a wide amount of spectrum. So there's systems out there that digitize 24, 25 megahertz, 30 megahertz. And the problem with that is that if anything is in that spectrum and overloads the system, it doesn't even have to be on a channel that you're receiving. If it overloads the front end of the receiver, and especially the A to D converter, if you're receiving more than one channel of wireless, it will wipe out everything at one time. Mm. And the thing about what this does, we know that we have to be in a position where you can't overload it. Because if you could overload it, it'll happen, because when you're in a sound bag, you could be working 5 feet from talent. Mm-hmm. You never know where you're going to be. And also you've got walkie-talkies that, are very, very powerful relative to these things. And we needed to make sure that there was no possibility of overload. And that's what we've achieved here.
This is direct conversion though, but how did you, what makes it different from all of those things that you talked about with, the drawbacks?
Well, what we have done is we have included a filter in this that is not 25 megahertz wide. It's only 200 kilohertz wide. So it is basically only as wide as the widest signal we are going to receive. So if you have a wideband direct conversion receiver, then, it's receiving, such a big area that it can't focus on the signal that you're trying to receive in a meaningful way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes, there is software that can do it, but it doesn't save you if you're in a position where you're being overloaded within, the bandpass of the receiver. Bandpass being in a wideband system about 25 megahertz. With this, the bandpass is 200 kilohertz, and that's like 1/100th of the amount of spectrum that the wideband receiver is seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So this really gives you a cure, quote unquote, from the problems of what is typically referred to as near-far effect.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you're trying to receive someone who's far away, and then someone standing over your shoulder watching the monitor on your cart with a transmitter that's on, they're basically desensing the system.
Yeah.
And with this, that does not happen because, again, a 200 kilohertz filter, if I look at it like this is 200 kilohertz and then this is like 25 megahertz.
Right.
I mean, it is a huge difference. The other thing about direct conversion is it only hears what's on channel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When it comes to older receivers that are of the type called super heterodyne, which has been around for, 70, 80 years, whatever it's been, they are susceptible to RF on frequencies that you're not trying to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And because this is direct conversion, there is no IF. It is simply direct from the frequency you're trying to listen to down to something called baseband.
Mm-hmm.
And once you're at baseband, you're not having the problem of people interfering with the IF, which walkie-talkies can easily do on that basis. These things easily get overloaded at many different levels. So if you have intermediate frequencies, that is not as good as having just a direct conversion from the frequency you're trying to listen to down to baseband. The other thing about our technology, and this is related but not identical to direct conversion, is we have variable filter front ends where we're not dealing with SAW filters, which limit your ability to be flexible in multi-channel situations because you have to be within the limits of a fixed filter.
Can you refresh my memory about how a SAW filter works so that I can visualize how that works versus the very narrow direct conversion filter we're talking about?
Well, those are kind of two different animals.
Sure.
I mean, SAW filters are manufactured to be on a specific frequency range, the specific bandwidth and specific frequency. Okay. They are not movable. So, it's a very old technology, nothing new about SAW filters.
It's like those barrels that you would put in between an antenna.
That's right. Yeah. So, they're very inflexible. And frankly, they don't all operate the same. They're not all the same bandwidth. They're not all the same profile in terms of what things look like RF-wise. What we do is we have a filter in here that is tunable. It's actually done with Varactor diodes for all the tech people out there.
I don't know what it is, but it's a cool name.
It's a good thing. It's a flux capacitor.
I love it.
In, basically Back to the Future terms.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, this is tunable from 470 to 698, which is something we haven't touched on, which this is a very wide tuning range, but it's not a wide open tuning range. It's about a 30 megahertz wide window, and you can tune it anywhere from, as I said, 470 is the lowest, and then the highest in this product is 698. So it really allows us to, filter out the majority of stuff that would interfere with you. And then once we down convert to baseband, that's where we have this 200 kilohertz wide filter before our A to D converter. So, I can't overemphasize the importance of this, of a narrowband direct conversion system versus a wideband system that just cannot compete in terms of interference. you will never have this be wiped out because something gets too close to it.
Mm-hmm.
The transmitter would literally have to be within an inch or two of the receiver antenna to affect the receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with walkie-talkies. If someone's using a walkie-talkie 2 or 3 feet away from you, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty bulletproof.
The way I'm envisioning it is that there's like blinders on a horse inside there, and it's just like looking at that one frequency and ignoring everything else around it.
That's a very good analogy.
And for people that like horses, there you go.
Perfect. I don't know what to say about that.
Uh-huh. We talked a little bit about the feature set of it. You know, you called it a Swiss Army knife, and
it's true. In my opinion, the things that we're doing here in the size that it's in and the quality that it's in, I mean, this is basically replicating what a rack mount receiver would be able to do in such a small package. Again, the direct conversion, we did the circuitry ourselves. I mean, it's not something we bought off the shelf. It's not what they call a blade receiver.
Mm-hmm.
That would be very expensive and very power hungry. It is designed to be very power efficient and something that receives a single transmitter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can receive mono or stereo transmitters. I mean,
Yep.
It doesn't matter what modulation you're using. And while I mentioned modulation, I'll point out that this works with all of our Zaxcom modulations, with the exception of mono, which I don't think people are really using anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It works with XR, ZHD96, and stereo,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is a really neat thing. It has a frequency scanner built into it, so you can scan the band, pick the best frequency. It'll give you a choice of frequencies to work with.
You showed me this before, but the interface for the scan is really pretty looking.
We'll see if we can get in there.
So yeah, I just thought it was really cool how the scan display resizes itself as
Yes.
you do more.
That's right. I mean, the screen is the size of the screen, but everything kind of slides in as it scans greater frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a cool way to display it. And then you know it's scanning
Mm-hmm.
until it stops moving. And then you can say, okay, it's done.
Yeah.
So I don't think I've ever seen anyone do it before. That's a Howie thing.
Mm-hmm.
He came up with that. And I thought it was pretty neat.
Yeah, it's really
So-
slick.
Yeah.
It seems like it's an amalgamation of a lot of products.
Well, that's right. I mean, we initially started out to redesign the RX200 because people thought that it was a little too big and too heavy for today's cameras. So we sort of took the RX200 and then we took a URX100 and said, well, if we kind of put these products together and put in the best features and put in new technology, it would be as if we sort of put it into an atom smasher and combined it.
And the other one that's in there is the preamp from a ZMT4. So it's a couple of different atoms smashed together.
Well, yeah. I mean, as a manufacturer, you pick your best stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then you say, what can we do in here that no one's ever done before? And as I mentioned earlier, we came out of NAB and, Colleen basically dragged me aside and said, if you don't put a recorder in this, I'm going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And not wanting to die prematurely, I agreed.
Well, I'm glad you have somebody to threaten your life.
Sometimes it's what you need.
Yeah, I agree with that. So let's talk about the audio capabilities on the DCiRX.
Sure. Well, basically, we have put a mixer in this that allows any input to any output. And also you get the ability to mix into the auto mixer, or not mix into the auto mixer, but decide what's going to feed the auto mixer. So you have 3 sources of audio, the microphone as well as the 2 received channels of audio, RF-wise. So any combination of that can feed the auto mixer, and then any of the inputs plus the auto mixer can feed any output. So if you want to feed your headphone output, you want to feed the tracks going to the internal recorder and the tracks going to the phone, the iPhone, you get infinite flexibility to select what goes where. And you will also have the ability to output a linear timecode track onto the iPhone. So if you wanted to have 3 ISOs, let's say, and a linear timecode track, you could do that.
I think you told me this before, but the LTC timecode track can be picked up by certain apps like the Blackmagic app.
That's right. Linear timecode, when put down as a linear track, can be read by certain editing systems. So it comes in handy. What you've got here is the ability for this receiver to pick up the timecode from the transmitter that it's receiving. And also you've got on the side of it, you've got a dedicated timecode input-output jack on a 3.5 millimeter so that you can choose whether you want the external jack to be the timecode source, whether you want the Zaxcom transmitter to be the source. So you've got quite a bit of flexibility in terms of, having timecode that works with, the recording that you're doing on the phone or a broadcast camera.
So the timecode jack on that can be in or out. Is that similar to like the QRX 235 where it's on different pins, or how does that?
I believe it's exactly the way we did it on other products that we make.
Got it.
Where we have a timecode in-out on a 3.5 millimeter. It should be wired identically.
Oh, that's another thing added to the Atom Smasher then.
Yes, that is correct.
So it sounds like you can actually do, it's 4 digital outputs via USB-C, and you can route what you want to the
Correct.
USB-C. And then it's up to 4 analog outputs as well, 2 on a TA5 and 2 on an 1/8 inch, and those are routable as well.
That is correct. Yeah. Anything routes to anything, basically. So if in the headphones you just want to listen to the auto mixer, if you want auto mixer left, right, and maybe you want to throw an ISO track in the left side only, whatever you want to do, you can do with it. So it's very versatile in terms of just, audio input to audio output. And, if you want to mix things without the auto mixer, you can do that as well. So the auto mixer we think is really good. In fact, we just redid the auto mixer and gave it to all of our Nova customers, and they're really, really thrilled to have it.
Yeah.
And have given us a lot of good feedback on that.
I'm just thinking as a camera operator, we get a lot of people that want to, record reference tracks.
Yes.
For their cameras. So they might get a feed from Talent or a bag, but then also want to have a, single channel microphone on, let's say, an Alexa Mini. So, being able to output one thing, like let's say the microphone and the, and the one wireless channel into the camera, but then being able to choose to listen, well, do I want to listen to the reference track coming from my mixer? Do I want to listen to just the on-camera boom? So I have a sense of what's going on, and having that power to choose is really nice.
Well, yeah, again, the use cases of this are pretty vast. I mean, if you wanted to use it as just an IFB receiver, you could put it on someone and use it that way. If you did want to use it, as a microphone preamp, even, you could just do that, or combinations thereof. So, when you own this, I think you own something that, you literally use every day in one capacity or another. I think that's pretty good.
And you can route the LTC to the analog outs as well?
That's a good question. I believe you certainly should be able to do that. But I do have to ask. You can certainly route it to any of the USB tracks.
Got it. So let's say
you caught me on that one.
I might. Well, we'll see. I mean, this is a new product, so stay tuned.
Yeah, and also, like any Zaxcom product, it will change as time goes on. If someone comes to us and say, hey, wouldn't it be great if I could do this? Because, that's what our show requires. I mean, usually within a day, we can make changes for people. And we like doing that.
Yeah. And I'm thinking like, so you can have 4 discrete analog outputs from the TA5 and the 1/8 inch. Can you then also have the time code out on the time code out, separate from the analog?
Yeah, the time code out is always on the time code out.
Got it. So it's potentially 4 different audio channels, 2 wireless receive from one transmitter. Right. So like a camera link or something like that, 1 from the shotgun mic and 1 from from an auto mix or whatever you want to route there,
Correct.
plus time code.
Yeah, I would say you could basically sum it up as almost infinite capability.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's really nothing that you can't do in terms of routing or flexibility in terms of operating with any camera that you could find.
Cool. No, that's great. So it's the same form factor as the UX100. So there are accessories for it, but are you working with Sound Guys to make other?
Well, that's correct. Sound Guys has had a unit for quite a bit, and they are working on different mounts for different situations.
Cool.
Also, I'll point out that there's 2 metal studs in the back,
Mm-hmm.
and there will be camera mounts available for different operational situations that go to these studs.
All right. So one thing I noticed, and I didn't highlight at the time, but the tuning range for this is down in 470, and that's a new thing for Zaxcom.
That is correct. This receiver does tune down to 470. Anything that we do going forward will tune down to 470, provided it's not range limited elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, all the new ZMT4s that we're now shipping go to 470. And if someone wants to send us a ZMT4, we can, for an hour's labor charge, we can make that go down to 470 as well.
Cool. So that really expands the abilities, because that's another, let's say, 30 megahertz.
Well, that's right. Yeah. I mean, certainly, I've never been a huge fan of it, but I think the necessity of it dictates that, you know, this is something that we need to do for people. So we're doing it.
Right. I know there's potential issues with police and fire bans and things like that down there, but I guess having that really narrow filter
Right.
makes living in that area more feasible.
That's right. And of course, the unit basically scans, so it has the ability to avoid things that are on the air all the time. So it'll pick a clean frequency down between 470 and 512 and tell you what that frequency is, and you'll be able to tune to it and go.
Very cool. I know you can't talk about future products that don't exist yet, but obviously this is the first DC version of a receiver. Do you see other, DC receivers in Zaxcom's future?
Well, I would certainly say that, we're always working on something,
Mm-hmm.
and, we'll let people know as soon as we can, about where we're going. But I think that the direct conversion technology absolutely lends itself for multi-channel operation more so than, the wideband direct conversion stuff that's out there. So we want to make sure that we can take the technology that we've spent the last year or two working on and make that available to people in multiple products. So the best thing I can say is stay tuned.
Got it. Okay. I do have a couple of writing questions that I wanted to ask you from the fans on the internet. So Richard wants to know, is there a possibility of 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz recording before modulation on future transmitters?
Well, that's certainly something that is possible when you're recording on our products. I mean, we're not doing that at this moment, and I'm not saying that we will or won't do it, but technically it could certainly be done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when it comes to 16 kilohertz modulation, it's kind of funny that, we came out with our first modulation with 16 kilohertz, 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the industry basically said, oh, well, and when I say the industry, competitors are like, well, you don't want that. I mean, you want 20 kilohertz. And now our competitors are all going down to 16 kilohertz.
Mm.
So apparently they figured out what we figured out 25 years ago, that you're transmitting information that does nothing to increase the audio quality, but basically decreases the ability to decode the signal and have better range and better dropout protection as a result. So I think we were kind of trendsetters on that. And now the other manufacturers are just falling in line.
I don't think at this point, and probably not at any point, but I don't think my ears ever went up that high.
Yeah, I actually, at one point, mine did. Because I'll date myself here, but I could go into a room and hear the 16 like 0.7 kilohertz sweep frequency of a television.
Oh, you know what? When I was in high school, I could go up the stairs into my room and I would know if I'd left the TV on
Right.
and the VCR.
Yeah, because that was like 16.7 kilohertz.
Mm-hmm.
So that was right at that point. So I used to be able to do that, but not today.
That is all gone for me now.
All gone.
All gone.
Sorry, kids. That's what happens.
All right. And Zach wants to know, are there any plans to incorporate, we did ask this already, but I'll ask it from Zach's point of view already. But are there any plans to incorporate direct conversion technology into an MRX style receiver?
Well, like I said, you have to just stay tuned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't speak about future endeavors, but we're always working on something. That's my line. I'm sticking to it.
And I will ask because we are very close to NAB. As of time of filming, I don't know when this will be released. But what are you most looking forward to about NAB this year?
Well, I mean, I'm looking forward to showing new products. I think that's usually something that we do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to meeting, friends and, good customers and, just hopefully getting away for a little bit and showing people what we can do and how we can make their lives better and, just being there, really.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good and exciting vibe. Do you have an outfit picked out?
Picked out. I don't know how to answer that question. I'll probably, like usual, figure it out when I drag out the suitcase to pack. It's
Nice.
like, I want this one and I want that one.
Nice. Okay. Glenn, is there anything else that you'd like to share that you're excited about, either about the DCiRX or any of the, the technical stuff that Zaxcom has going on?
I think we basically covered it. If I had to focus on one thing, I would say it's the narrowband direct conversion is a total game changer. And I think that if you look at, the price of the product that we hadn't talked about at this point,
Mm-hmm.
but if you look at what you're getting price-wise, size-wise, power consumption-wise, that the technology is just, beyond that available from any other source. And I think once customers get it in their hands and, start getting into some difficult RF environments, they're going to appreciate what this can do for them.
Nice. So it's even potentially a problem solver for those instances where you need something that is new and really narrow band or really focused.
Well, that's right. And, if you can't bring a sound card along, or maybe you can't even bring a sound bag along, this is most of everything that happens in a sound bag. It mixes, it records, it's wireless. So it's a lot of things. I think people will find interesting applications that they never even considered before.
Yeah. So Glenn, I just want to acknowledge, Zaxcom has always done right by the customers, and it's so nice to have, a company like yours that makes such high-end products be accessible.
Well, thank you, Nick. That means a lot to me. Yeah, I mean, we're there for our customer base. I mean, all they have to do is pick up the phone and give us a call or perhaps send us an email, and we're happy to help. We're, very keen, I think that's the right word, to make sure that we're always fair with the customers with repairs and, just making sure that everyone feels good about dealing with us. I mean, we don't get it right every single time, we certainly try, but if something goes wrong, we're there to make sure that we can make it right.
Yeah. That is very admirable. So I thank you. All right. I think we'll leave it there. I think we got it all. Glenn, thank you so much for being here and talking with us and taking all the time out of your day to make the trip. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Nick. It's always really great to be here. And, you do a wonderful job in presenting the products and all of your companies that you represent. And I thank you, and I'm sure the customers thank you as well.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to thank the customers now for watching, especially if you made it to the end of the video. We really appreciate you. As always, you can follow us on social media. You can watch this video and more like it at gothamsound.tv. And, if you have any ideas or have any questions, please reach out info@gothamsound.com and we'll be happy to get back to you. Thanks again.